Hello, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil and this Court TV short segment. Tonight, I jumped on with Vinnie Politan and we looked into the case of Tristyn Bailey. This is the 13-year-old student athlete who was murdered in a vicious attack a few months ago. Some crazy things happened as more discovery occurred and the defense received more of the prosecution's case. Take a minute and listen as we explore this case and some of the things that are unfolding.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for joining us here on Closing Arguments. I want to begin this hour by showing you a photograph of a 13-year-old girl. Tristyn Bailey was her name. She was living the normal life that every 13-year-old lives. Was a cheerleader. Her family loves her. Her friends love her. She was murdered. It was an absolutely brutal murder. And we're going to talk about it here off the top because we're going to give you some of the details of this that have now been revealed in the case. Now, here's the other shocking part of all of this. This 13-year-old girl allegedly murdered by a 14-year-old boy from her neighborhood. His name is Aiden Fucci. Let's take a look at Aiden Fucci in court.
So let me tell you what you are charged with. You have been indicted by the St. Johns County Grand Jury on the charge of first-degree premeditated murder. That is a capital felony that is normally punishable by up to death or life imprisonment. In your case, because you are not yet 18 years old, death is not a possible sentence pursuant to the Florida and United States Supreme Courts, but this charge does carry a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. Do you understand the charge against you?
Yes, sir.
All right, there is probable cause to detain you on this charge pursuant to the indictment issued by the St. Johns County Grand Jury yesterday, as well as the arrest affidavit that I have previously reviewed. The indictment in capias that followed set your bond at none. Is the state still asking that he be held without bond?
Okay, we've been going through some of the court documents and some of the reports in this case and now have more information tonight. Let's begin with Tristyn's injuries. 114 sharp force injuries over her body. Based on the nature of the injuries, it appears the suspect was behind her. The written word karma on her left ankle and a smiley face drawn on her right ankle. Handprints in blood on her thighs. And it was determined that it wasn't Tristyn's handprint in blood. All right, let's start to dive into this investigation. Joining us now in Salt Lake City, Utah, retired police commander and host of the Profiling Evil podcast and author of Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion Society cult. Mike King is with us. Also joining us in Chicago, Illinois, private investigator Erica Morse. Great to have you both here. What happened to Tristyn, Mike, is evil, is absolutely evil. I want to get first your reaction to some of the things that now have been revealed. The written word karma, a smiley face, 114 sharp force injuries on her body.
Yeah, this thing is so disturbing, Vinny, and it's one of these cases where you say, how on earth can this happen? How on earth can the red flags that were clearly popping up not be heeded and somebody bring this young man to the attention of authorities? I mean, this gal suffered a horrendous death. And it's obvious because so many of the wounds, I think in excess of 35 of her wounds, Vinny, were defensive wounds. So she put up one heck of a fight. But this was something that if all of the other evidence that's starting to come forward would make it appear that it's a complete fulfillment of a fantasy.
Erica, this is so troubling on so many levels, and you wonder how it's even possible, but it happened. It actually happened. This poor 13-year-old girl, and you've got a 14-year-old who's been charged. He's been charged as an adult, facing potential of life in prison. But my guess is the investigation here is going to reveal a lot of forensic evidence to begin with.
I think it's going to reveal a lot of forensic evidence and also a very strong narrative of circumstantial evidence. There's a lot here that was found in notebooks, drawings that he had done, talking about depicting death, very gruesome and very graphic death. I think Mike nailed it when he said that this was the fulfillment of a fantasy. So I think this is going to be a very strong narrative, along with extensive forensic evidence and a lot of graphic wounds. As Mike said, she fought back and she fought back hard. So when you have a situation like this, a lot of forensic evidence comes to light and comes to play. So I suspect they have a lot to work with. I suspect people have come forward probably since his arrest, and they've probably learned new information, new background, and new things that would point them in other directions. So, I really do think they'll have a lot to work with in the end.
Taking a look at the incident report, the summary here, let's take a look at that. The defendant's story changed several times, but ultimately made several admissions. Admitted to being with the victim, admitted to walking north along North Durban Parkway. The defendant admitted to engaging in an argument with the victim in which he forcefully pushed the victim to the ground, striking her head. Mike, in evaluating the statements from a 14-year-old who is being investigated for a horrific murder, and the story is changing, how do you take that story and try to figure out what really happened when you've got a changing story and you've got facts and you've got minimization and things like that going on as he continues to talk?
Yeah, I think what we learned from the discovery that's continuing and what we've already seen to date is that there is evidence supporting that there was this fantasy period beforehand, that there was actually almost dry runs as he practiced how he was going to sneak up and literally run that knife across the throat of a victim, how he spoke of where he was going to even do this. I mean, it was planned out to the very location. But then we start adding all these forms of evidence that we're talking about. And I think about the fact that they talk about him giving admissions. We talk about confessions often in these kinds of cases. Admissions are the next best thing because he's putting himself there. He's putting himself in a position to defend why something may have happened. But all of this other evidence, the physical, the forensic, and we have eyewitness in this case, and that eyewitness is in the form of people seeing them walking down the street from CCTV cameras on residences. And I kind of classify the eyewitness, Vinnie, of friends who say, here's what he said he was going to do. And that combined with the actual elements of the crime and what we found at the crime scene, or what law enforcement found at the crime scene, becomes incredibly compelling for a court.
Now, something else that they have, we only have the summary of it from the report, but his parents are in the room with him and it's being recorded. And my guess is the parents and Aiden Fucci, 14-year-old, have no idea it's all being recorded. But let's take a look at some of what was said. Crystal, as his mother, advised Aiden that the girl, referring to Tristyn, was found in their neighborhood down the main street. And Aiden asked, is she good? Crystal responded, no, she's dead. That's why this is very important. It's all on you right now. Aiden responded, how is that my problem? And I want to couple that with a picture that he posted on Snapchat while he's in the back of a police cruiser, little peace sign, and along with a little statement saying, anyone seen Tristyn lately? This is scary stuff, Erica. This is extremely, I mean, he's in the back of a police cruiser, casually saying, anyone seen Tristyn? Throwing the peace sign. This 13-year-old girl, 114 sharp force injuries all over her body. Erica, what's going on here?
I think this defendant needs a serious psychiatric evaluation, a forensic psychiatric evaluation. I am confident it will be ordered. I am not dismissing what he has done by any means. The lack of remorse The almost mocking of the situation from the back of the police car has me extremely concerned. I think that there's a reason he's being charged as an adult. Let's not forget, this is a 14-year-old boy, and his brain is not yet fully developed, and I'm sure that is an argument that will be made. But that evidence has to be so overwhelming for a prosecutor to charge a 14-year-old boy with as an adult, and for this to be a no bond situation, him to be facing life imprisonment. I think it really tells us the severity of not only what happened to Tristyn, but also what could potentially happen to other victims out there. I think that they stopped someone at the beginning. And I think this is it's a really good thing right now that he's behind bars and he has observation.
Mike, again, I come back to the title of your program, Profiling Evil. This is like, example one right here of what we are looking at. If all of this turns out to be true, this is evil.
Yeah, and pure evil to add on top of that and maybe aggrandize it even a little bigger. And I guess the thing that I keep looking at, Vinnie, I hear these cases, and I guess it would be easy to say you'd have to be crazy to do something like this. But here's the difference that I see in these kinds of cases and what I see in the behavior if everything that's publicly reported is accurate. And that is that this individual went out, he pre-planned, so there's premeditation. He fantasized and recorded what his thoughts were, shared it with his friends. Then there's a victim who's brutally murdered in a way that is just almost a mirror image of what he was processing and writing. But here's where I think it gets tricky. Is you can claim that you have insanity or other mental deficiencies, but the bottom line was when this thing was over, he went home, he changed clothes, he cleaned up, he tried to conceal evidence. If the knife that was recovered in the pond was his knife and it appears to be used on this murder, then he disclosed or disposed of that evidence. And bottom line is he knew what society's standards were, but he chose to do it anyway. And you can certainly say that might be crazy thinking to do something this bad, but he's responsible if all of this is true.
We have more from the incident report, again, reflecting the conversation Aiden's having with his parents in the interrogation room. Jason is his father, who asked, "Did you kiss or do anything with them?" Aiden stated he kissed Tristyn and denied doing anything further. Crystal asked, again, that's the mother, asked Aiden if Tristyn really grabbed him and he pushed her. Aiden stated Tristyn did grab him. Jason asked if Aiden knew what happened after he pushed her. Aiden stated no. Erica, I'm seeing like this is what this trial is going to be about, that there was some sort of disagreement. I pushed her, I didn't know what happened, and things, I blacked out, I don't know what happened.
It sounds like it. But again, gosh, Mike just nailed it. The consciousness of guilt. The changing stories is actually pretty simple to explain, and that is it's hard to remember what you said previously if it's not the truth. Stories simply change because you don't have your story down pat. If it's the truth, it will sound consistent. If it's not the truth, there will be variations. So I expect to see the changing stories if there's guilt involved. The consciousness of guilt, the after the fact, the remorse or the lack of remorse, and the actions, the conscious actions that were taken to cover up this crime, those coupled with the almost nonchalant statements to mom in the interrogation, it's scary. It's scary. I've seen this kind of stuff before, and we need to get people like that off the streets and behind bars.
And here's the final part that is really, I think, going to be the most frustrating part for everyone involved, especially Tristyn's family. And this is what we've been talking about. His friends say he talked about killing people frequently, told friends he was going to murder someone, stab them, drag their body into the woods. He stated the murder was going to happen soon. Okay, so this one I want to take a step back, all right, and look at this. He's 14, so his friends are going to be 13, 14 years old. 13 and 14, we don't know that we're supposed to tell someone about this. You know, it's a tough age, right? It's an awkward age for boys, 13, 14 years old. But if you've got a friend who's doing this, are we in a place in society right now where our 13 and 14-year-olds don't know to tell someone, to tell an adult, to tell a teacher, to tell someone that, hey, he's saying he's going to kill someone. He's literally saying that. How come that's not happening, Mike?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Number one, we teach our children, if you go to a party at 13 and all of a sudden alcohol breaks out, call mom and dad and get a ride home. When your friends are doing things that are bullying in school, we teach kids that you got to report it. Well, this is bullying on steroids when someone's talking this way. And those kids have got a lot of discussion going on, I'm sure. It's such a tough age. Anyway, those junior high years are terribly difficult. But the best thing you can do for your friend if they're talking like this is report it and get them some help. And maybe that's a message that needs to go back to us as parents and grandparents, teachers in school, that if you're seeing something that's bizarre, you got to report it. And it's a lot better to have your buddy mad at you than have something like this be the outcome.
And ultimately, you're doing something good for your buddy because hopefully he or she will get the help that they need before they do something that determines what the rest of their life is going to be like and takes the life of someone else.
Well, I want to thank Vinnie and the entire Court TV team. It is an honor and a privilege to jump on with him on a regular basis and explore some of these criminal cases that we're talking about here on Profiling Evil. I hope you enjoyed this segment. And if you wouldn't mind, take a minute and hit that like and the subscribe button. Make sure you're ringing the bell and joining up with the Profiling Evil family. So stick around and we'll see you at the next crime scene.